Okay, so here we have a Kubla cube project, and we need to start by defining the existing surface. So you can define existing surfaces in a number of different ways in Kubla cube with points, contours from PDF and CAD files. In this case, we're going to use points with a point file to keep things simple. So we're on the existing tab, and we start by adding a feature surface. There's two options here. Triangle surface is if you've defined triangles in a separate program. So if you've got points or contour lines, you would use this feature surface. For those who don't know, a feature surface is made up of outlines, a boundary outline to define the extents, and then contours, break lines, and points define the topography of the surface. So we need to be on the points tab because we're importing points. This button plus down the bottom is tracing, but we're going to import them from a file. So we click on this add from file option, click on browse. We can select this XYZ points. You can have the points in an Excel file or CSV. Click open, and it should map the XYZ values of the survey points to these columns. You can change these if they're not correct, if it's in a different order, but that's correct, I think. So we click OK, and it should bring the points into the program. So every feature surface needs some kind of outline. So we click on the outline tab, and we can either trace an outline with this draw button, or the automatic option is good as well for quickly establishing an outline. It basically shrink wraps an outline around your points that you've imported. So we click OK. OK again, that should create our surface. So we'll have a look at it in 3D. It looks good. You can clearly see the two stockpiles here. I know just change the colors to ground level, to ice. So that's a kind of popular option, because the black and white default is a bit difficult to see sometimes. So you can see that's a bit easier to sort of see the extents of the stockpiles. We could even exaggerate the scale to make it a bit more clear as well. So we're going to look at two approaches for calculating stockpiles. The first one, we're going to use a platform element, and that can be done with the free version of Kubla cube. So if you've only got the free version, that will be useful to you. And then the second one is for situations where the stockpile is not necessarily on a flat surface. And for that second approach, you will need the professional version. Okay, so let's start with the basically doing an excavation to a flat surface. So this would be perfect if your stockpile was on a concrete yard, because you know the level of the yard, and then you can just calculate from the existing topography that we've got down to a level. So we click on the proposed surface. And then what we're going to do is use this platform element. So that's like our element for a flat plane. So we click on platform, and I just trace around the perimeter of the stockpile like this. And what it will do, it will survey the kind of the points that you've placed against the ground and like get an average. So the platform starting elevation will be an average of the levels you've clicked on. So that's 19.36 feet that it's got. You can change that by just over typing. So if we wanted to increase it to say to 19.9, because we knew what the level was, then you can do it like that. So what you're looking at here is the cut level can be used as the volume of your stockpile. So in this case, 123 cubic yards. That's the excavation to get down to 19.9 feet. So we can say, okay, that's an estimate of the stockpile volume. Okay, so we're going to create another phase now to look at the second approach. This is for, like I mentioned, when the surface that the stockpile is on is not necessarily flat. You would hope it would be somewhat flat, but it might be on an incline. So the first thing I'm going to look at is if we add a feature surface here, and then we're going to trace an outline again around the perimeter of the stockpile. But this time we've got a feature surface which has got more outline options. One of them is use ground levels, which is like a match level. So if we go use ground levels and trace around the extents of the stockpile like this. So basically what it will do, it won't take an average of the ground like the platform will. It will actually track the ground. This is sometimes called a match line. So we'll click OK, and you'll see the effect of that in the program. It's kind of like triangulated between those elevations that it's taken from the ground. And then the surface is like kind of more accurately slightly sloping down. There's a third little trick we're going to look at before we finish, which is, what if you have a survey of the perimeter of the stockpile? Like, this method could accidentally like pick up halfway up the stockpile or a bit up the stockpile, so it might not be quite as accurate as if you had actually surveyed the base of the stockpile and you've got that in a CAD file and you want to import that in. So we're quickly looking at that approach as well. So you can disable that feature there. I'm going to add, I've just disabled that so it sort of doesn't do anything. And then I'm going to add a new one, and I'm going to click on here and browse. And so I'm importing this one from a CAD file, a DWG file in this case. So click Stockpile and open. So this is the CAD importer window. It allows us to sort of select entities that we want to import as users elements in Kubla Cubed. So I've selected this 3D polyline in CAD. Now it has to, for it to work, it needs to be a 3D polyline. Okay, so I picked up two. It's saying there's two lines imported. I think there's a duplicate. So I'm going to unselect the layer that's got the duplicate in this case, which is input data. And then I'm going to click finish. What it's brought in is a surveyed line around the perimeter of the stockpile. So we'll click OK, and it should arrive at kind of a similar thing to our ground level technique, but arguably this method might be slightly more accurate or preferable. And it's giving us a cut volume of this stockpile of 277 cubic yards. Okay, so that's the end of the video. We've looked at those two approaches. If you've got any questions, feel free to post them in the comments or in our forums. Good luck with your projects, and let us know if you get stuck.